Remember when buying a Tesla in Canada meant getting thousands in government rebates? That era just ended abruptly, leaving thousands of would-be Tesla owners facing unexpected price hikes and Tesla scrambling to address a $43 million financial blow. This isn't just another policy change, it's a turning point that's already triggering retaliatory tariffs, shifting market dynamics, and forcing a complete reconsideration of North America's EV strategy. If you own a Tesla, are considering buying one, or simply care about the future of electric vehicles, what's happening right now will directly impact you. The exclusion, why Canada, really cut Tesla out. Imagine buying a Tesla in Canada last December, confident you'd get thousands back from the government, only to discover the rules suddenly changed overnight. Let's unpack what really happened. Canada's iZEV incentive program was a game-changer for many prospective Tesla owners. With up to $5,000 in rebates for qualifying electric vehicles, Teslas became significantly more affordable. Thousands of Canadians pulled the trigger on these purchases with the understanding that the government would essentially cut them a check to offset the premium price of going electric. Then came January 12, 2025. Without warning, the program suddenly paused, but with a twist that sent shockwaves through the automotive world. Tesla and Tesla alone was specifically excluded from receiving previously approved rebates. Consumers who had already purchased vehicles were left in limbo, and Tesla executives were blindsided by what appeared to be a targeted policy change. The Canadian government's official explanation seemed straightforward enough. They claimed the program had run out of money and cited vague eligibility criteria issues. But dig just a little deeper, and this story gets far more interesting. Behind the scenes, Canadian officials had actually launched a full-scale investigation into Tesla's sales practices. The Canadian Automobile Dealers Association raised serious red flags about the company's sales figures, with some dealerships reportedly selling a car every 30 seconds, a pace that defied logic and raised immediate suspicions. Transportation Minister Chrystia Freeland didn't just raise an eyebrow at these reports, she suspended all payments to Tesla and initiated an investigation that struck at the heart of the company's Canadian strategy. The financial implications were immediate and severe. What really caught the government's attention was a suspicious pattern in Tesla's incentive applications. In what appeared to be an overnight operation, the number of applications skyrocketed from a manageable 300 to an overwhelming 5,800. Canadian officials viewed this not as organic growth, but as a calculated attempt to manipulate the system. This wouldn't be Tesla's first creative approach to maximizing government incentives. Back in 2019, the company introduced a compliance model of the Model 3 with reduced range specifically priced just below the eligibility threshold, a move that allowed them to claim millions in iZEV incentives. Tesla's support page tells a completely different story, of course. Their messaging suggests they were completely blindsided by a policy change that appeared laser-focused on undermining their position in the Canadian market. The company portrayed itself as the victim of arbitrary government decision-making rather than the target of a legitimate investigation. The timing is particularly interesting when you consider the increasingly frosty relationship between Tesla CEO Elon Musk and various government officials worldwide. As Musk has become more politically outspoken and confrontational with regulatory bodies, the goodwill that once existed between Tesla and government entities has eroded considerably. What makes this situation even more suspicious is how Tesla's major competitors remained completely unaffected. Ford and General Motors continued to enjoy full eligibility for Canadian EV incentives, creating an uneven playing field that threatened to reshape the competitive landscape. This disparity gave these established automakers a significant edge over Tesla at a critical moment in the EV adoption curve. The imbalance effectively gave traditional automakers a $5,000 pricing advantage in a market where consumers are notoriously price-sensitive. For a company like Tesla that had built much of its Canadian strategy around access to these incentives, the exclusion represented not just a financial hit but a fundamental challenge to their business model. Ford and GM didn't hesitate to capitalize on Tesla's misfortune. Both companies quickly adjusted their marketing strategies to highlight their continued eligibility for the iZEV program, explicitly targeting potential Tesla customers who might be reconsidering their options after the rebate exclusion. Quick pause. What's your take on Canada cutting Tesla out of the EV rebate program? Is it a fair move or political overreach? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear where you stand, and if you're finding this breakdown informative, please consider liking the video and subscribing. It really helps support the channel so we can keep covering the stories that matter most. Let's get back into it, the fallout, trade wars and market upheaval. That marketing advantage for Ford and GM seemed significant at the time, but it was merely the first domino in what would become an unprecedented trade crisis. When the United States announced a shocking 25% tariff on all Canadian vehicles, automotive executives across both nations realized this wasn't just about Tesla anymore. It had transformed into an existential threat to the integrated supply chain they'd spent decades building. Let's be clear about the sequence of events. After Tesla's exclusion from Canada's rebate program, the US government didn't simply express disappointment, they detonated the equivalent of an economic nuclear option. President Trump personally announced the 25% tariff on imported Canadian vehicles, framing it as a response to unfair trade practices and even citing nebulous national security concerns related to cross-border drug trafficking and illegal immigration. This thinly veiled explanation fooled no one in the industry, who recognized it as direct retaliation for Tesla's treatment. Canada's response showed equal resolve. Rather than capitulating to its much larger neighbour, the Canadian government announced retaliatory measures targeting nearly $30 billion worth of American goods. Steel, aluminum, computers, sports equipment. Nothing was off the table as Canada signalled its determination to defend its economic sovereignty. Ottawa even encouraged its citizens to boycott US travel, turning what began as a policy dispute about electric vehicles into a full-blown diplomatic standoff. The stakes couldn't be higher for the automotive sector. As the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association warned, these escalating tensions introduced severe risks to the stability of the auto sector. Their assessment was blunt and alarming. The auto sector operates on just-in-time logistics, meaning sustained disruptions could force temporary closures. Linda Hazenfratz, CEO of major auto parts maker Linamar, put it even more starkly, stating that a tariff war with the United States would bring the industry to its knees. For Tesla specifically, the market reaction was swift and brutal. The company's stock tumbled 5.6% to $272.06 following Canada's decision, breaking through critical technical support levels that investors watched closely. This wasn't just a momentary dip. It reflected serious concerns about Tesla's future in an increasingly fragmented North American market. The European market offers a sobering preview of what happens when Tesla faces regulatory headwinds. New car registrations for Tesla in Europe plummeted by a staggering 47.1% in the first 2 months of 2025, reducing the company's market share from 2.5% to just 1.4%. While multiple factors contributed to this decline, including Elon Musk's controversial political statements and aggressive pricing from Chinese manufacturers, it demonstrates how quickly Tesla's market position can erode when faced with regulatory and competitive pressures. The economic implications extend far beyond Tesla's balance sheet. S&P Global Mobility projects a decrease of approximately 793,000 units in global light vehicle sales in 2025 alone, with the impact peaking at 1.05 million units in 2026. Inflation is expected to rise while interest rates remain higher than previously forecast. For manufacturing sectors in countries exporting to the US, including China, Europe, and key Asian markets, the ripple effects could be devastating. The most troubling aspect may be the timing. With the USMCA trade deal scheduled for review in mid-2026, this escalation creates unprecedented uncertainty at precisely the moment when stability is most needed. The potential for permanent tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico threatens to dismantle the integrated North American supply chain that has been meticulously built over decades. For ordinary Canadians, the consequences are already appearing. More than 30% of Ontario's exports come from the automotive industry, putting tens of thousands of jobs at risk. Industrial cities like Windsor, Hamilton, and Waterloo face particularly severe threats to their economic foundations. While the Canadian government has created a $2 billion strategic response fund aimed at protecting workers, many industry analysts question whether this will be sufficient if the trade war continues to escalate. The automotive industry operates across borders by necessity, with components often crossing between countries multiple times before a vehicle is completed. Disrupting this delicate ecosystem doesn't just increase costs, it fundamentally threatens the viability of manufacturing in regions that have depended on automotive jobs for generations. The global EV landscape is undergoing a seismic shift beyond anything we've witnessed before. While all eyes have been on the Canada-US tension, Chinese manufacturers like BYD, XPeng, and NIO are quietly gaining market share and challenging established players with aggressive pricing strategies that are suppressing sales across North America. Canada stands at a pivotal crossroads. The current dispute could either devastate its automotive sector or become the catalyst for something remarkable. As David Adams from Global Automakers of Canada suggests, this tumultuous period presents an opportunity for Canada to position itself as a welcoming hub for foreign investment in EV manufacturing. The ultimate winners in this electric revolution, they're likely names you don't yet recognize. That wraps up our report on the growing EV rift between Canada and the US. Thanks for tuning in. If you want more in-depth coverage on how global policy shifts are shaping the industries that affect your life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Until next time, stay sharp and stay informed.